Welcome to episode 556 of AI Brief. I am your main host, and I am joined by my fantastic co-host, as always.
Hey everyone, it is great to be here.
We have a really packed board for today's deep dive. We are going to look at Sam Altman pitching this massive United States-led AI safety forum, along with a potential 5% government stake in OpenAI.
Which is just a huge pivot.
It really is. And then we will get into Mira Murati's new Thinking Machines lab, basically proving that small, specialized AI can completely crush the top frontier models in finance. Plus, a rapid-fire look at the rest of the day's AI news and the top trending AI tools to boost your productivity.
Setting this all up, I think today's developments really highlight this massive structural shift in the industry. We're kind of moving away from the whole sci-fi hype of general intelligence. It is focusing entirely on, well, who controls the wealth and how to make AI actually useful for specific real-world tasks.
That is exactly the theme today, getting down to reality. So let's dive into today's new updates. The entire month of June saw Washington putting just intense regulatory pressure on the major AI labs.
Oh, the squeeze is definitely on.
Yeah.
I mean, we recently saw Anthropic's Mythos and Fable models get pulled, and the highly anticipated release of GPT 5.6 was severely reined in.
Right, the government is clearly pumping the brakes. And Sam Altman's response to this pressure just arrived via a rather striking op-ed. Instead of fighting the regulation, his strategy is to officially invite the government in.
Wait, invite them in how exactly?
Well, he is pitching a U.S.-led forum with real, concrete regulatory authority. And the analogy he uses is fascinating. He explicitly points to the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Oh, wow. The group that polices atomic energy globally.
Exactly, the one created during the Cold War. It set global baselines so countries could develop nuclear power without accidentally triggering a weapons race. Altman is arguing that advanced AI requires that exact same level of international refereeing. He compares it to the stringent, non-negotiable global rules we see in aviation and banking.
Which, I mean, that makes sense on a theoretical level. If a technology can instantly disrupt global markets, you probably don't want it operating on the honor system.
Definitely not. But what is truly surprising here isn't just the call for rules, it is the call for equity. OpenAI is reportedly floating a 5% stake for the government.
A 5% government stake in a private tech company. That is entirely unprecedented for a giant of this scale.
It is a massive pivot from the classic Silicon Valley playbook, They are essentially offering the public a direct cut of the financial upside. Alongside this, there is a push for a U.S. lab dividend fund to actively redistribute the wealth. Altman actually stated that democratic institutions must not cede their responsibilities to AI labs.
But that brings up such a critical question about implementation. Former White House AI advisor Dean W. Ball brought this up recently. If a massive AI wealth dividend is created, does that money bypass the bureaucracy and go directly to your household?
Or does it just flow into general government coffers?
Exactly. Because historically, funds directed into massive government pools may not actually deliver on those big promises to the public.
That is a very fair point. Handing over a 5% stake sounds like universal basic income, but it doesn't automatically mean a check shows up in your mailbox.
Precisely. And if you are the market leader, inviting massive, expensive government regulation is also a great way to ensure that smaller startups can never afford to compete with you.
Oh, that is a brilliant point. The garage startup is kind of dead on arrival if the barrier to entry requires IAEA-level compliance. And that tension between massive centralized power and localized specific utility brings us to the next piece of our deep dive. Let's look at the hedge fund Bridgewater and Mira Murati's Thinking Machines Lab, or TML.
This case completely challenges the narrative that bigger models are always better.
It really does. So Bridgewater analysts spend their days filtering through countless emails and economic reports to find market signals. And TML tested the absolute best massive frontier models like GPT, Claude, and Gemini on these complex news filtering tasks.
And how did they do?
Surprisingly, they only hit about 50% accuracy on these filtering tasks for the analysts.
50%.
Yeah.
That is literally a coin flip.
Right. And even with expert prompting, they only hit the mid-70s. That is below the 80% threshold Bridgewater analysts require to trust a tool daily.
Which is unacceptable when you are managing billions of dollars.
Exactly. Think of general frontier models like a Swiss Army knife. They're good at many things, but perfect at nothing. You can use it to open a bottle or cut a string, but you wouldn't use it for open heart surgery. Bridgewater didn't need a Swiss Army knife. They needed a highly specialized surgical scalpel.
I love that analogy. And the resolution here is fascinating. TML used their Tinker platform to take the Open Qwen 3 235B model, and they trained it specifically on expert-graded examples.
So they basically captured the nuance of an expert human and baked it into a smaller model.
Exactly. And the results were incredible. They achieved 84.7% accuracy. It easily cleared that 80% trust threshold. And even better, because it is so much smaller, it costs 13.8 times less than the frontier models. Marathi framed this as, quote, experts improving AI that empowers experts.
That is amazing. It proves you might not need to pay a premium for a massive model. But, pushing for better, cheaper models is heavily dependent on the hardware they run on. So I will officially hand the floor over to you to cover the broader market movements and everything else in AI today.
Sounds good. So let's look at the silicon race first. Anthropic is reportedly in early talks with Samsung to co-develop a custom AI chip. They are trying to loosen NVIDIA's grip on the market.
Which makes sense. Everyone is trying to escape those NVIDIA margins.
Exactly. And this follows OpenAI debuting its own Broadcom-built chip, which is internally dubbed the jalapeno chip. But there's a really spicy detail here. Anthropic recently poached a key engineer, Clive Chan, directly from OpenAI's jalapeno team.
Oh, wow. So talent acquisition is just mirroring hardware acquisition at this point.
Moving on to the international model drama. Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 is officially back online after U.S. export controls were lifted. Meanwhile, Anthropic's Mythos and OpenAI's GPT 5.6 series, which includes the Sol, Terra, and Luna variants, are currently sitting in limited preview.
Are they feeling much heat from overseas right now?
Immense pressure. Chinese models, particularly Z.AI's GLM 5.2, are successfully applying pressure on U.S. labs by matching their performance, but at a mere fraction of the price.
It really is a race to the bottom for inference costs.
It is. Which leads us to contrast two very different enterprise AI strategies. Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, delivered a pretty harsh critique on CNBC. He stated that enterprises are paying for tokens that create no value and that AI labs are stealing weights and alpha.
Stealing alpha, that is a heavy accusation for a CEO to make.
It is terrifying if you are an enterprise client. You plug your proprietary data into a central model, and the lab absorbs your competitive edge. But then you juxtapose Karp's critique with Microsoft. They just launched something called Frontier Company with a $2.5 billion investment.
$2.5 billion. What does Frontier Company actually do?
They are going to deploy 6,000 in-house engineers and specialists directly to client sites to help them manually build their AI systems.
Wait, I have to pose a question here for our listeners to chew on. Doesn't Microsoft's need to deploy an army of 6,000 engineers to client offices actually prove Alex Karp's point?
That is a great pushback. How so?
Well, perhaps these models are currently just too difficult for enterprises to extract value from without massive hands-on intervention. If they were autonomous and valuable out of the box, you wouldn't need a human army to integrate them.
That is a really profound observation. It suggests the tech is still raw and not a plug-and-play solution. Just to round out the news with two quick hits. First, in the video space, China's Kling AI just secured $2 billion to push global expansion. This comes right after OpenAI shut down its Sora video model.
Stepping right into the vacuum.
Precisely. And finally, the Wall Street Journal reported that SpaceX demoed an XAI-powered phone for IPO investors, though Elon Musk has publicly dismissed the claim, calling it utterly false.
Always some drama in the hardware space. But bringing this back to reality, let's talk about the practical tools that are successfully putting AI to work right now. Let's break down today's trending AI tools and look at some specific use cases.
Let's do it.
First up is Seedance 2.0. This is ByteDance's frontier AI video model, which is now generally available. The big use case here is generating high-quality professional marketing B-roll directly from a basic text script.
That completely bypasses expensive stock footage subscriptions.
Exactly. Next is Cursor for iOS, which is a new mobile experience for coding on the go. Imagine you are commuting, and you need to review and push an emergency bug fix to a codebase directly from your phone.
Acting as a manager to the AI rather than typing syntax with your thumbs.
You got it. Third is Claude Tag. This allows you to tag the Claude AI as a shared teammate directly in Slack. The use case, delegating Claude to read a massive 50-message Slack thread and instantly extract actionable next steps for the team.
I think every project manager is going to want that.
No doubt. Fourth is ZCode, which is Z.AI's agentic coding environment tuned for GLM 5.2. This is great for writing and deploying complex software agents optimized specifically for Chinese enterprise tech stacks.
Very localized and specialized.
Next, we have Workers Delos. This is a tool to run business workflows 24/7 with autonomous AI employees. So a practical use case would be setting up an AI worker to automatically receive, verify, and route vendor invoices at any hour of the day.
Eliminating that manual data entry bottleneck entirely.
Exactly. Sixth is animated diagrams. This creates editable animated system diagrams from text. You just type a description of a new software architecture, and it instantly generates a dynamic visual to use in a high-stakes board presentation.
Oh, technical founders are going to love that one.
Definitely. Seventh is Diaform, which automates customer feedback and user research at scale. It can ingest thousands of messy customer support tickets and automatically categorize the top 3 most requested product features.
Finding the signal in all that noise.
And finally, there is Codey. This is a local-first AI development OS to build apps and run agents. The huge advantage here is building internal company tools locally on your own machine so that sensitive proprietary data never has to be sent to the cloud.
You know, looking at tools like Claude Tag and Cursor for iOS, it really represents a major shift. AI is moving out of standalone chatbots and seamlessly integrating into the environments where people already do their daily work.
The intelligence is coming to your workflow, and that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. But I want to leave you with one final provocative thought that ties all these themes together.
I am ready for it.
If Sam Altman succeeds in creating heavy international government regulation for giant frontier models, but Bridgewater just proved that tiny local specialized models are actually better for enterprise work, will those sweeping regulations even apply to the AI that ends up running the global economy?
It is a fascinating paradox to watch unfold. Thank you all for diving into today's updates with us.
If you found value in today's deep dive, please follow and share the podcast so you can stay ahead of the curve. See you in the next episode.